Hello there, and welcome to Fridays with Tab and Chance. I am Tabitha Brown. This is my husband.
I'm Chance, what's up?
Today we have a special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
What's up, y'all? I'm Terrence Terrell.
Terrence Terrell in the house. He's so modest, okay?
Trying to make
Yeah,
a voice all day.
Yeah,
You know you got it's the TV voice.
Yeah, use your TV voice and
Yeah.
things, but you know.
Yes, sir.
But then he have his sister voice.
How you doing? All right, we
Everybody stay focused.
Okay.
Everybody stay focused so we
Okay.
can bring the beat in.
I was doing a little remix. Go ahead, you start. I'm sorry. My bad.
You said he could do
I said,
a
wait,
little
but
did
I
say-
mean, but damn, he ain't let me
Okay,
get.
my bad, go
Let
ahead.
me get comfortable, but not too comfortable.
Not too
Your rings and things was hitting
Yeah,
on.
it was-
That was a treble. He
That
was
All right, now I don't
treble.
need. I don't like
Okay.
trim hoes.
I'ma just
I
add a
said
couple
you
of
can have a
rounds.
little. Give them an inch, boy, and they want.
Just got my
Are you
cup,
ready?
so-
You know, okay, you ready?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it again.
yeah.
Bring the beat in.
Fridays with Tab and Chance.
Ba-dum, bum, bum.
Fridays, oh,
Fridays with
Tab and Chance.
Ooh, that was a little rough.
I was.
It was a little rough. I mean, you, sir,
I have to revisit it.
you are an actor
Okay.
who has
you got a album?
put out music.
I got some. I wasn't warmed up. See,
You
when
didn't-
he
you gotta
did
harmonize.
that, when he did that, it scared me, so it threw
It
me
threw you
off.
off.
Threw you off a little bit.
We
Thank you,
got it.
Tab.
We
Okay.
got it. We understand.
It was a
because
remix.
we don't want that y'all to think that is his normal performance.
I didn't know where
has
he
done
was
a little
coming
music
in at. He
his
was coming in
life.
high, low.
Yeah. He was doing. He was
You don't make the tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you was on.
All right.
Well, sir.
God.
Well, welcome to Fridays with Tab and Chance. Today we have the one and only Terrence Terrell. I mean, he is my friend, my brother, who from another mother. Okay, we friends in real life,
Yes.
but you all may know him because he is an actor, and he has dabbled in a little music. Although that intro didn't suggest so. Hi, Terrence and I met eight years ago, 8 or 9 years ago.
How long? It's been like 9 years.
Yeah, it was like 2016 when we met, cause I was during my sickness
Yes.
and was doing a short film,
Student film.
a student film. I was like, let me see if I can go out here and do this.
It was right before the shoot that we did.
That was the next year.
Yeah, I remember we did that shoot.
Yeah. So it could have been actually 2017, maybe.
Yep, 2016.
Early, yeah,
2016.
late 2016. But and I've shared this just with him recently at your birthday.
Yes.
But we met when it was like one of the toughest times of my life, like dealing with sickness, trying to push through, trying to fake like I was all right. But I was on disability, wasn't even supposed to be there. I was not well, but somebody called and was like, "We do this student film," and I was like, I think I can do it. And met Terrence, and we just started talking on set, and both of us, were actors who were waiting on the thing to
that
come,
moment.
But I was sharing with him that I was not well and I was on disability, and he started sharing with me some, he was like, I've been there before, girl, and we instantly became friends. It was just like, I was like, oh, I got another brother I can bring on to the house and things. So, and then you wrote a book.
Blackie.
We need the books is in my office.
The books,
but
I was okay.
Yeah.
I had the leather on, so I didn't it didn't go with that. But okay.
I got all the books.
Okay.
So. But let's talk about
Something
your.
wrong with that.
They in
What the hell it got to do with
Yeah.
matching your
It's
book?
just like it's
Wait,
a movement. It's a
Vanessa,
movement.
can you look in my office? Oh, very good. These are the two that I
Those
do
are
have.
two, yeah.
But this was the first one. I actually took a picture with Blackie with this, and Blackie was like, well, did he get approval to use my name? Okay. So let's talk about this book in particular first, because this was your first book.
Yes.
Okay. What made you write Blackie? Because he's also an author. He's an actor. He's a musician. A singer and an author. Let's talk about Blackie.
So we're going depression.
Depression made you write this. Well, let's talk about
Depression made me write that. Because when we first met, remember, I didn't have any books or anything. We was working. Both of us was going. You was going through that, and you was on that couch, and I looked up and I saw that card. I was like,
yeah, I had my little disability card.
She was checking the balance or something.
I was checking to see if I had some money coming in.
I was like, what you want? And so then we ended up talking. And then I, of course, coming from Mississippi, you're not taught to have therapy. You know, you go to church and shut up, don't tell the family business. So with this book, I've always been the darkest one in the family. So I didn't like my skin color at all. I literally had a moment, and I have something coming out about it, but when I tried to wash my skin color off, I took 7 baths within like a time frame of an hour trying to scrub my skin
As a little boy?
As a little boy.
Jesus.
And my grandmother, who was very fair-skinned, she came in from church and just lost her mind. But I think that made her zero in on me more, where she was like, you're a king. She started speaking all these things. She wouldn't let me spend a night over people's house unless they had an extra room because she didn't believe in me sleeping on the floor. So just little values like that. Yeah, so it was like her feeding into me, and I didn't know what that meant. You know, she's like, you have a light and you need to stay at home and learn how to be by yourself because you're going to grow up to be this king and people are going to reach and pull at you. And I'm like, what are you? I want to go outside and throw a rock. What are we talking about, you know? So getting to the age of 31 and still not knowing my power, not knowing the power of my skin color, even liking my skin color at the age of 31, until I went to therapy and started writing this stuff down. They're like, you have daddy issues. I'm like, do I? Then it's like, oh, what really it was, I had so much self-hate for myself because people told me that I was a dark one, I was the ugly one, da-da-da. So yeah, all that stuff. So even now, right, we come in and like, oh, you're so...
And look at them. Okay, just out here chocolate.
So even now, like they call me chocolate now. They wasn't saying that we was kids. You African booty. They was calling us all kind of names. Me. So even now, when people give me compliments, I've just started learning how to just say thank you instead of trying to hurry up and find something about them. Just give it back and actually just take that in. So Blackie came from a part where I actually finally understood my skin color and actually started loving myself more. At the age of 31.
I know exactly what you are talking about, and I know the viewers do too. In our community, that is something that was done and is still done. Yes. There has been a shift though. Like,
now it's good to be dark.
Yeah, now it's sexy.
I be trying to get this complexion every summer.
Yeah, now it's sexy.
Well, I know, me and you the same complexion.
No, me and Terrence are the same.
See, and that's the thing. Now everybody want to be dark.
No, I'm
dark.
Don't be.
You got beats.
Listen, but don't be disrespectful.
Okay, all right.
I said me and you are alike.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
So me and you went through the same stuff.
Oh, so he wasn't talking about color.
You get what I mean?
In his mind. Yeah, well, Quest is chocolate. Like
yes.
Yeah, so he like his daddy.
So
every summer, my intention is to get as dark as Quest, and I feel like I'm.
You almost
there. People probably think me and you brother and sister in real life because I'm so your complexion.
No, but you good. But I do know what you're talking about.
Anyway,
and it is we making light of it, but it is a serious thing.
It is. No, this is how I grew up.
We need to be mindful of.
Because you were the darkest one as well, right?
I was the darkest in my family.
Talked about this.
This was my nickname.
Yes,
Blackie.
exactly.
My granddaddy called me Blackie. My other granddaddy called me Black Gal. Those were my names, and I responded to them. And I didn't think of them as, when they would say it, as a negative. I just thought, oh, it's because I'm dark. That's what they called me. And they did it with love, because my granddaddy was darker than you.
My granddad was.
And my great granddaddy John, he was probably my complexion, but more red. And he was so excited to have a chocolate granddaughter, because my sister is very high yellow, as they say,
high yellow or red.
And my mama was red bone, right? My mama was, and my grandma was almost. Most people thought she was white.
Pass as a white woman.
Absolutely. Yep. So when I was born and I was chocolate, they was excited, But my childhood, my sister used to tease me about being dark. Neighborhood kids used to tease me about being dark, and I went through that phase thinking like I would be prettier if I was light skinned, because the kids would say, "You're so pretty, you'd be pretty if you were light skinned."
You're pretty for a dark.
Or you're pretty for a dark skinned girl, and I'm like,
that happened to Troy.
Yeah, because I saw a thing when you. I think somebody kept asking what was she mixed with
exactly,
online.
like black and black.
Yeah,
Jan's black, I'm black. She black. Yeah, so it is a real thing. Colorism. I think that it's part of like post-traumatic slave syndrome, really.
Yes.
It wasn't something we started. They started by separating us and
House
making
and family.
exactly. And so I think it is a great conversation. I'm glad that you wrote the book, but also that your confidence was
It
restored.
came from a child's book, but it was scary to name
Yeah.
it. Because I remember I was like, I'm gonna name it like Chocolate Drop or something, because I was
Yeah.
scared. But I went to the barbershop, you know how they be joning on people.
Yeah.
And I was talking, literally the week I was coming up with the title, the boy was like, shut up, Blackie. And I was like,
To you.
yes, because I was gonna name it Blackie. And I was like, I can't do that. Who gonna buy a book named Blackie? But he called me that. I was like, confirmation. And
There
so
it is.
I was like, but I need to take power, because people call me Blackie, but it wasn't sexy at all. Or
Right.
loving.
Yeah.
It was like mean. So I was like, I need to take power back from that name. So it means be loving, adoring, caring, and kind of yourself.
I
So
love
it's
it.
for anybody who feels like-
say that again. Blackie stands for.
Be loving, adoring, caring, and kind of yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, for anybody who feels like they don't belong. And then when I start, at first I thought it was just about me. But then my mother called me, and she was like, thank you for writing this book. And, you know, I read it, it made me cry. Then there was a white girl in my class, Rachel. She got emotional because she said she's the palest of her family. She gets teased for that. So I was like,
Wow.
oh, maybe it's universal for anybody
Yeah.
who feels like they don't belong.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Isn't that crazy? She's the palest one, so people call her ghost and different things. Then they, so I'm like,
Wow.
oh, okay, cool.
Interesting. And so then from this book, the she's.
The she's, and you already know about that. So when I met Tab, we were on set, and she was just telling me about these dimes and talking about her mother passing. I'm like, you know, my grandmother was more like a mom to me, but she kept talking about, we was on set, remember you found dimes in the alley?
Yeah.
And you went through the situation in the alley running and doing everything. And she's like, I found a dime, it'll be okay. And I'm like, then she told me about like all these different stories about finding dimes. And I'm like, okay, cool. A couple of months later, Tab called me out of nowhere. Nobody knew my mother just passed. So I was like, Tab was preparing me for this that happened in my life. And she literally just called me out of the blue. Nobody knew. The same day that I found my mother, Tab called me. It was like, you okay? And that's the only thing she said. And yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what
All
this
right,
came
here we
from.
go.
I didn't know that.
Here we go. All right.
Come on, let's talk about the she's.
All right. Oh, we don't start already. All right. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna need some tissue.
This is the story of self-love.
It's a story of self-love. So my mother, being a single mom, and also she resonated with Blackie so much because she said she got teased for being dark. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's all right.
So we don't do this in Atlanta today. All right. So she got teased all the time for being darker skinned and always wanted to be different in those small towns. Cleveland, Mississippi, she wanted to be different. So she got teased for even wanting more out of life.
Yeah.
So she got addicted to drugs and different things of that nature. And you know, you look down and you're like, why can't she just be better? But she always pushed us to be so great. So after she passed, and I found her diary. And I read through her diary and I finally understood why she was trying to quiet her mind with drugs. And so, yeah. All right, here we go. So after reading her diary, I realized that she was doing the best that she can. At one point, we always think our parents are these superheroes, but they're literally doing the best that they can. And mental health and things of that nature is cool now. That wasn't cool back then. Right. And so a lot of things happen within the family, and that's where it usually starts. It happens in the family, and she got out there, she not knowing who she was because everything was already torn from her. So I read through her diary, and I went through the different stories that she had in there and understanding that she went through hell. And she had 3 kids just trying to do her best. So I broke her into 3 little girls, and I had no idea even doing this, what I was doing. I named them Faith, Joy, and Hope. And not knowing later on, somebody said, each day you need faith, joy, and hope to make it through. And and then my mother, I always thought she was a superhero. And so I named it the She, Superheroes Every Day. In every book you have a scientific lesson. This one has DNA. We all have like 99.9% of the same DNA. So we're all brothers and sisters. But also giving back to girl powers. Because I realized watching this woman trying to just be a mom, but being an individual, she didn't know who she was. And she got 3 little ones trying to teach them who they were. And then she's going through domestic violence. She went through drugs. She went through people casting her out, and she's just trying her best. So, yeah.
When you discovered that about your mama, right? Did you immediately forgive?
Yes.
And grace was given. But I can understand, and I know that there's people watching who have had traumatic childhoods with their parents, and they get angry at their parents. And it's tough. But then when you find out that they're not just your parent, they're a human being, a woman or a man who's doing life for the first time as well, right? And all that anger and frustration turns into forgiveness, understanding, and grace, but not being able to tell her because now she's gone. How did that affect you?
Well, after, I was a little lucky because before all this, I put in rehab 3 times. And I had a vision the 3rd time, I had a dream, and I saw 2 little babies, one dressed in white, one dressed in black, and it was her. And I called her that morning. I was like, Mom, I think this is God telling me you got one more good chance. And so she was like, I'm finally ready to go to rehab. So I took her to rehab. And so, of course, they do this thing, drug addicts, before they go to rehab, they try to binge on everything. So the nurse called, she was supposed to go that Monday. And it was like Wednesday. The nurse called me Wednesday evening and said, you need to go get your mom now because she's binging. I'm like, what does that mean? She was like, if you don't get her now, she'll probably kill herself tonight. So it was one of those stormy days, you know, where it rains like a week in LA. It was raining. It was 12 o'clock. I made it to San Diego it took me 4 hours to get down there. Usually it takes like 2.
She was living in San Diego.
She was getting so high, she was just on trolleys, just riding around. And I went together and it took me another 4 hours to take her out to Hemet. And when she got there, of course, everything started spewing out of her. She told me she hated me, so I was like, okay. But throughout those couple of months, her in therapy and rehab, I would learn so much about her. And she started telling me more things about herself. So I was lucky because I was able to see the grace after she told me a couple of things.
So you started it early.
I started it early. So by the time she passed, I was already at a forgiving stage. But I'm not gonna lie, it pissed me off because here I am. I was, Blackie just came out. I was finally doing stuff. And I just got a co-star role doing stuff. And I'm finally making a little money. Credit getting a little bit better. Had American Express. I was like, I ain't never seen an American Express card. And so I was excited about life. And I'm like, okay, my mom's over here. But it was wearing me out. And I was driving back and forth, losing money because I was paying out of pocket to put her in rehab, a really nice rehab. And to find her overdose, I never even said that out loud because at first I told everybody it was a heart attack because I was already very embarrassed. To find out that she overdosed and finding her body. So I just looked up like, why? Because I found my dad's body. I found my grandma's body. My grandma died in my arm. My daddy died in my arm. Then I found my daddy dead. Then I found my mom dead. I'm like, what is going on? So I was pissed because 1, it's like, why me again? And then 2, I put my all for 6 months, giving her everything I had. And I'm like, she did this to me. Like, all she had to do is do it right. But then after that, the Lord gave me a Bible, her journal. And I went through that journal. It was a whole nother level of forgiveness. But I didn't put any pictures of her up for a good year. And there was one day I was at home and I was like, it was a Monday, I had nothing to do. I said, I think I'm gonna put a picture up. It was up for the Emmy stuff. I'm like, I need some love and put pictures up. I always felt the Emmy around. And I ended up getting a face tattooed on my arm just to like force myself, like it's not embarrassing. It's more like a part of my journey to show how strong I am. So put a picture up and that next week I won an Emmy. So I was like, okay. So after that, it's just always being able to give her that grace and understand that they're not superheroes.
Right.
They're just damaged babies trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to give her grace, and also, my other siblings, they have their own things that they have to do. But so at the same time, you can give your grace, and you got to allow other people to find their grace in that.
That's right.
Interesting to hear you say the embarrassment, the things that you're struggling with. I can't. Recently, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was talking about my grandma, my great grandmother, because I didn't know my grandparents. I didn't get a chance to meet them. They all passed away before. But my great grandmother, who was around for my early childhood, I was telling them the story and of who she was. In my book, I was telling them how I was doing my voice notes for the book. I think a lot of times how we tell the story, like how we choose to view their stories. Like if I could tell a story about my great grandmother that if you heard it, you would be like, "Ooh, that's a sad story," right? Or I could tell a story about her where you'd be like, "Yo, grandma was a hustler. Grandma was a survivor," and I choose to look at her story that way and give her grace on the things that wasn't so favorable, wasn't so likable, that I hear the family complaining about. And I think it's important that we do that when we think about our loved ones, even while they're here. Don't wait until they pass away, but you have to consider the day and age in which people were raised, the circumstances. You said she was from Mississippi? I'm gonna be honest with you, I ain't never heard nothing good about Mississippi.
Yeah.
I think my wife went down there.
Jackson, Mississippi.
That's it. That's the
my
only
first amazing experience.
That's the pretty part.
Now that's
Right.
right. And for black folks, to be very specific, I ain't never heard nothing good about it. So when I'm listening to these stories, or long story short, what I'm getting at is you got to take everything in its totality into
Especially
consideration.
back in those days.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then look at the story. It does not excuse a lot of the things that they did. Even with my dad, I don't have a relationship with him, right? Don't really know the dude. But I'm able to give him grace from the things that I've heard, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds pretty bad. Like giving him grace, and I'm not the appropriate person to tell his story. My mother, on the other hand, who was constant in my life, she's had a lot of traumatic things, and I tell her story in a heroic way. I choose to look at it in that way. Some of those things that have happened to her have put scars on her and on me, right? But I'd rather tell the story in a way that be like, my mom was a survivor. My mom was a survivor of this, that, these things, and I don't have no excuse to not keep pushing and I want the generations that come behind me to hear it in that way. I choose to tell my kids truth in a fashion to be like, nah, your granny is dope. She was dope, and she was a victim of her circumstances, but she was a hero in her circumstances because she made me and I made you.
Yes.
And if we can't find nothing else to fall on that.
Right.
Like, here we are.
Celebrate that.
Celebrate that, because I think it's important. That's how we break those cycles, right? We break those cycles by saying, no, let me tell you about a dope woman. Let me tell you about a dope woman that you related to, who 9th grade education, teenage mother, bats with this, bats with that, bats with this, but she's still here. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it took me a while to do it.
Yeah.
It took me a while.
And I think
But
it's
it all
important
has
that
a
you do
purpose.
it. I was saying that to say I think it's great. You need to acknowledge that you are doing that.
Yeah.
And it's needed so you can continue to move on. But man,
I love that you have been able to share,
Yeah,
right?
'cause
And
it's
share,
part of the testimony.
that's right. But
Yeah.
if your mom had lived a quote unquote normal life,
Lord knows what
then
I'm
you
doing.
wouldn't have the story to tell.
Yeah.
so I'm sorry, but you said you found your dad, your mom.
And see, even with the dad, we talked about the dad thing. The
Yeah.
hardest line I ever had to say as an actor was dad. Remember I told you that? It was on Criminal Minds, in the last scene I had to say dad. And it took me a whole 30 minutes to try to say that word, because I never had to say dad, because he was never in my life. So I didn't meet him until I was 15. And then he came in like, oh, you're gonna be this, you're gonna be that. So he died the week of my college graduation. And I didn't really know the man. And I found him in his bed. Yeah, I found him in his bed. He was a judge out down there.
He was a what?
He was a judge So when I found out he was a judge, I was looked at my brothers and sisters, they crying. I was like, I'm rich. I'm out of here. I'm rich.
Wait a minute. Your daddy was a judge?
He was a judge in the town that we're from.
And you never knew him?
I never knew him, and I never knew the fact that he used to pick us up for haircuts when I was 5 before my mom moved him San Diego because she wanted better for us. So that gives, thank you for what you said, Chen, because she wanted better. No matter what, she always wanted better. She
was
pushed
trying.
me. She pushed me. She always pushed me. But yeah, he used to ride around and looking. I caught him one time when I finally found out who he was. I was 12, and I was calling him during the summertime. And he would say, okay, I'm gonna be outside to pick you up. And he never came. So I was a little boy outside, dressed up, and I didn't want to play for the day because I thought if I was dirty, he wouldn't want me. Here we go.
So wait.
All right.
Did you say...
Take this mic off. I've been crying.
But you said he picked y'all up for haircuts when you were 5?
When I was little, but I don't remember it. Because
you don't
my mom, I never knew who he was. And then, so when I finally found his... when my mom said that, she was drunk, and she had said, you look just like your daddy. I'm like, no, I'm the dark one. Toya looked like dad. It was like, she said, ain't your daddy. Such and such your dad. I was like, he just made judge. I was like,
so she had never told you?
She never told me. And she slipped up that day and told me, and then I was on a hunt. That's when telephones was up. I was looked for his number and found his number, and I just remember calling, and I heard the thunderous voice. And then I told him who I was. He was, oh, you my son. So then we used to go to Mississippi.
He knew.
He knew. So then that last summer, that last day where I was like, forget this, I don't need him in my life. He rode around and my grandmother said, oh, there he is right there. And I ran after the car screaming, Dad, it's me, I'm right here. And he kept going. He ran through the stop sign.
How old were you then?
I was 12. And that was the day I came back. I was like, I don't need a dad. I'm going to do it on my own. So
then
he kept going.
Kept going. And I got that from the resilience of all the women in my life. My grandmother, my mom, my aunts. It was like mostly women. I've never been taught by a man how to be a man. I'd always been taught by women how to be a man. You know? So even football, even though I had a stepdad, he didn't like me. So my mom taught me how to throw football. Any sport, my mom coached me on it. Yeah.
Hero.
Superhero.
So at 15, you meet him for the first time.
And at that time, I didn't want to meet. My mom was in jail. I moved with my grandmother because my aunt didn't want me. So I moved. They split us up. So I went to my grandmother's.
Back to Mississippi.
Yeah, back to Mississippi. And sure enough, my grandmother was the last place where I learned love. I knew she loved me, from a very young age. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna do here. And I was on Greyhound for 2 days, no food, musty. And I remember those days I was praying that my grandmother would want me. I was like, please just let her want me. So I got there and I was like, I don't need to see my dad. But then my brother went to the same school. So I met him at a grocery store by accident. And then we became close.
Your brother?
My older brother on his side. And so we became close, who I didn't even know it was existed. We were ghetto twins, hood twins. We were born the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
y'all look alike?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought I had a big nose till I met them. And I was like, I'm good. Thank you, Jesus.
I look like y'all.
At one point, I was like, my nose is too big.
Because you were the only one.
Yeah, but now, I was like, Lord.
And this is a good old nose.
Thank God. Because, woo.
You better stop talking about your family.
They know that. Oh, my God. I was like, thank you, God. I got the small one. But,
something is wrong with you.
But, wait till you see some pictures. They'll know it. They'll probably like it, too. They'll be like, he ain't lying. But yeah, I met him by accident because my brother was like, oh, we gonna meet Dad. I'm like, I don't need to meet that nigga. Oh, can we say? We can say, okay. I don't need to meet him.
Expressing yourself.
I don't need to meet him. And he was supposed to take me home and he locked the door and took me to my dad's house. And the first time I met him, he was washing dishes and his eye on this side was moving. I'm like, oh, he cockeyed too.
You did?
His eye moving. But anyway, he was like, oh, that's my son. And I kept calling him Mr. Fletcher. He was like, call me Dad. I was like, Mr. Fletcher. So at that point, of course, he started blaming things on Mom and things of that nature. But when we got closer that week of the graduation, nobody knew about me still, 15. He was like, I'm coming to your graduation. I'm like, whatever. But when I found him, there was everybody came in, they still wasn't talking to me, because at this point,
so your graduation didn't happen yet?
No, my graduation was that Saturday, so it was like that Thursday or Wednesday he died.
Before the graduation?
I found him in the bed.
You alone?
Yeah, well, he was in the bed with my younger brother. So I called because he was supposed to get a ticket removed for me. So I called. I was like, yeah.
Stop putting your favors in when you found out you're a judge. I'm gonna need that.
I was like, I called out and I was like, you did it again. You always be lying. Da, 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 da. And sure enough, one of them answered. He was like, he dead. I'm like, who dead? They were like, Daddy in the bed dead. So I go down there. My grandmother, of course, said, come get me. So by the time we got there, nobody was there. He was still in the bed. And I was like, oh my God. So by that time, the other brothers and sisters didn't like me because of the whole hood twin situation with the mama. So they came in. They didn't acknowledge me. It's so funny how many things you can block off with your mind. And when you start talking about, you can smell, it can,
Yeah.
So they didn't even acknowledge me. We were sitting like across the room. They came in, the ambulance came in. And mind you, we just found them. They didn't say anything to me. And I was like, okay, Grandma, let's go. The kids are fine. And this little old woman out of nowhere comes in the house, in the country. The driveway is long. So she made her way in the house. I'm like, why is she walking anyway? But she made her way in the house and she said, by the time nobody knew about me, and it was fine. And she says, Terrence. And I was like, yeah, that's me. She was like, this is so sad. And your daddy was so excited to come to your graduation this time. And that what took me out. Because I thought he always tried to hit me. Yeah. And she was like, she said he had that invitation running around showing everybody last week that he was going to come. And that's the only thing that took me out.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's by, I mean, it's what we was talking about on the last episode with trusting you with stuff. You found your mama, you found your daddy, and I think you mentioned some other people too.
Grandma died in my arms, and my granddaddy died in my arms.
Yeah, thank God just trusted you with that. And,
absolutely.
And you are now using it in a good way to do so. I never shared with you the conversation that me and Terrence had. I think we was having something here at the house.
It was 4th of July.
Oh, 4th of July. Oh,
and, I forget how we got on it, but we got on this conversation about saying the word dad.
Yeah.
And it made me think, and I feel the need to bring it up on here because there's going to be, I think it's a good topic because there's a lot of young men like me and you. I don't like saying the word dad. I pause. It's disturbing to me, even with, and it made me think that day like, I can't even call your dad. I call him bruh, or I make a joke. It's a hey you, or if I'm making a reference to him out in public, like if somebody, that's my step pops. I won't say dad. It does, I don't know, it just makes me uncomfortable. And I'm sure that somebody else can relate to it, and I know that is a daddy or lack thereof issue. I don't feel comfortable with the word. I've never felt comfortable with it, and it can infuriate me. If like somebody try to if you try to correct me and be like, you mean your dad? Like, no, I said what I said. Like, and it's nothing that you know what I mean? But if they try to get me to pinpoint and say the word dad, for some reason I get irritated. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nah.
It's almost like you're not gonna take credit for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I did not recognize it until that day. Me and him were standing right there, and I was like, you know what? Man, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't like that word. I've never liked it unless I'm talking to my son. If I'm talking to my son and I'm making reference to myself,
yourself, you say it. Yeah.
I say it with a sense of pride. You know what I mean? Like, hey, tell him your dad.
Yeah.
Tell him your daddy. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But if you try to get me to say that any other way, it's difficult
interesting because y'all know I'm a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
And I say it so much. I'm like, my daddy. And so it's a joyful feeling when I say it. So I can only imagine the lack of presence is the direct opposite.
It don't hurt me. I just didn't recognize it until I'm 45 years old, and that just tell you how, you know.
Yeah. He has some
with
pain
like
there.
You
don't have any memories to attach it to.
There's something about that word that it's like, I don't know. It's like, but when we stopped having the conversation, walked away, I was like, oh Lord, this dude done pointed out.
He done opened up something. Right, that's what happens. But I think that everything that you go through has purpose. And to Chance's point, earlier we had other guests and we were talking about how a sermon that I heard many years ago that I have taken and always shared is that but my belief truly is, before we're born, before God sends us here, he has a conversation with us.
Yeah.
And he says, this is the life I want for you. This is the life I want you to go live. Everything ain't gonna be good. There's gonna be some pain, some suffering, there's gonna be some joy, some happiness. There's gonna be all these things, but even with your mother, there was an assignment for her, right? And so then he takes us and he places us into, the womb of man, and we come into this world and live this life.
Look at her.
But we live this life, and your mother had some trauma, but her assignment was to give birth to you. But in her trauma was so that in your journey, you would be able to write this. In your trauma, it was so that you could write this. It all has a purpose. Our pain, and God gave this to me yesterday, and I was like, Lord, I thought it was for me, but now I realize it was not for me. Pain always has a purpose because it always has foundation. Pain always has something to stand on. It's the one thing, no matter how bad it hurts, it has a foundation to stand on. But it also has a purpose, and it brings us to a place in our journey that makes sense after the pain has passed. And sometimes we still feel it because we have triggers, but it all plays a role.
We might have got ahead of ourselves, but I want to know if it played a role in you deciding to become an actor.
That's what I was about to get into.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing when I was little. I always pretended to be somebody else. At school, I had so many lies telling people like, oh, my mom worked here, my mom did this, and my mom was on welfare at home. I didn't know who my dad was, but like you asked anybody else, but his dad is such and such. I always made up the story. Not knowing what that was, and then I saw Eddie Murphy on Boomerang. I don't know why we was watching that so young, and I was like, I want to be like Eddie Murphy. So I didn't know, but Boomerang, he was an advertising executive, so I wanted to be in marketing. So I'm gonna be a marketer, but not knowing that I wanted to be an actor. So it was always me just running away from who I really was, and not knowing that was acting. I was doing it since I was, we were acting like we didn't have money. Sometimes we were poor. We were homeless in a car. And so we had to act like, we had a house when we didn't have a house. Sometimes my mom, she couldn't get the food together, so we had to pretend like we wasn't hungry so she wouldn't feel bad. So so it was a lot of stories being told.
You did that as a child.
Yeah, to make sure
to protect your mama's feelings.
Okay.
And nobody taught you that.
No.
But you did that.
It's so crazy how many things you block off.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard even now to go on a diet or like trim down, because that hunger feel triggers something from childhood. It triggers like a lack. So I remember I started dieting. I'm like, I can't. Once I feel hungry, I go back into like, I'm not gonna eat again, because that's what we used to feel when we was kids.
And this is why therapy is important.
Yes.
To unpack those things, to figure out why you feel a certain way or why this triggered me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you did that for yourself as well, that you are taking care of your mental health, especially as Black men.
Yes.
Mental health is a real thing, and a lot of men, period, but specifically, Black men struggle with mental health, and they don't get help. They don't talk to anybody. They keep everything in. Which is why Black men also have the highest suicide, but heart disease.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, like heart attack, silent killers, Black men, because they are holding so much in. Stress, everything. So we have to talk. We have to talk. Black men, we have to talk. And talk to somebody, whether it's a therapist or a friend, just somebody. And a lot of times people make jokes about, people putting everything on the internet. Some people just be doing videos and talk. If that's what you got to do to get your stuff out, get it out, right? As cliche as it may sound, honey, if you feel like you need to shoot a video and post it, then you do that. as long as you're not keeping it in.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how Terrence, let's shift the gears here.
Shuffle.
You wrote books, but you are an actor.
Yes.
When did the acting journey begin? Not the school
Oh
making
my
up
God.
who you are, but how did you decide to start acting? When did that start?
You know, they say you're not an actor till you move to LA. But I was in college and I wanted to be a model because, you know, I was skinny, a big old head. I was like, okay, and I can walk. But then you move to LA, you realize that don't pay no money. Because I think I got here and my first runway show,
You
I
got
was like,
$50?
no, I didn't get $50. They gave me a bag with a t-shirt and a Baby Ruth candy bar.
Oh, yeah.
And I was starving. You know, like I told you, I'd be hungry.
You ate the candy?
I ate the candy bar, but I had the candy. I was like, hold on. So you telling me that we ain't getting paid? She was like, it's the experience. I was like, no, so I was like, I can't do this. I can't do that. I ate that bar and I actually got another bag because it had like Milky Ways. So I got me another bag and I left. I was pissed. But then I told you I'd be hungry.
Right.
I'd be hungry.
Yeah, he a big boy. He tall.
I ate that Baby Ruth. I remember it was a Baby Ruth. See,
Yeah.
I was
Golly.
hungry. So it was a thing.
Terrence is funny.
It's so funny, right? Because you hang out with, you got to have the right people around you. When I first got to LA, I thought, you know, you network in clubs and trying to be cool, right? And I had these people around me. It was like 4 or 5 dudes. I'm like, oh, cool. Now all of them was getting auditions. They knew managers. They had agents. Nobody was telling me nothing. So I ended up going to a party and I met Anissa Williams.
I remember Anissa.
You know Anissa.
And this is one cast you for that music video.
For that video.
Exactly. So I met Anissa Williams and she was like, what are you out here doing? And we just talked. There was a thing going on, party. And now we sitting at the desk and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to be an actor, you know. And she's like, are you on LA Casting? I was like, what's that? So she was like, you're trying to be an actor? You don't know LA? She ran down, she opened up her profile as a casting director, showed me how to take my pictures, what to do. And I opened up an account that next day. And I, of course, go back to my quote-unquote friends like, hey, y'all, there's a thing called LA Casting.
And they already knew.
Hold on, wait till you hear this. LA Casting. They was like, oh, we knew about that. I was like, well, why you didn't tell me? They said, because we could tell you going to accelerate quicker.
I believe that.
They said that to my face, and I was like, I never talked to them after that day. I think after that minute, I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go over here.
Yeah. They told you it's a competition.
Yeah, it's a competition.
Yeah,
I'm we are all different. Like, we're not even the same range.
And everybody can win.
And everything.
There's room for everybody.
Those same people, you ain't seen them on. Let me
Come
stop.
on. Come on. I got them same stories.
You ain't seen them on a commercial background, but it's like you have to be good to people, and like you always have to share because there's room for for everybody. And then the trick to this is you never know.
That's right.
Even like with Tab, you remember when you was going through all that when you was first coming up, a lot of people wasn't coming at you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now they at the window knocking, right?
Yeah.
I remember.
You remember that, so you just
Nobody
never
knew
know. So you have to
nothing
be
about me.
good to people. And I remember at one point I was on another student film, and one of the girls in Minnesota, she said, "Oh, you know, I talked about LA Casting," and she was like, "Oh, thank you." She walks off. The lead of the movie comes to me and said, "Why'd you tell her about LA Casting?" I'm like, "What? It's open. She in Minnesota." She said, "That's another girl I got to worry about." And I said, "On LA Casting? If you thinking like that, this ain't the role for you. This ain't the play.
And you going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere." She's
What God has for you.
what happened?
It is for
Nobody
you.
can stop it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I quickly found that.
Y'all
so
making
then,
a couple people uncomfortable.
Okay,
Well,
they
yeah,
should
but
be.
they should be.
They
I
should
know.
be.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
no.
trying to hold somebody else back because you think it's going to affect your blessing. You got an issue.
You got an issue.
Thing got you, didn't you, babe?
All right. What you say? I'm healed, but I can still be triggered.
Listen.
I watched that one too.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
because
that's the truth. It many times when I first started doing content,
you already know. Tell them, Tab.
everybody who had been doing like Vine and social media, who were my friends that I used to do acting stuff with, I used to be like, oh,
Trying to share. You were sharing everything.
But in the beginning, I was shady in my thoughts. I thought, oh, they doing social media. Nobody's gonna take them serious in acting. And God had to humble me. And so then when I, years later, started doing content, had my first video to go viral, I didn't know what to do. But I still would cheer for them.
Yeah.
And I remember calling several of them because they had been doing brand deals. And I was like, how much am I supposed to ask for? What am I supposed to do? And they were like, I don't know. Nobody would help me. And I'm talking about I was good to these people. I was a good friend and they wouldn't help me. And so I got pennies in the beginning because I didn't know what to ask for. I got taken advantage of. Oh, but I got it back later. Some of the same companies who gave me pennies. The Lord made sure that they came on back around. He said they give you double for your trouble or tenfold. Anywho, stay focused.
Stay focused.
But yeah, I 100% understand that. So you started. So what year is this?
So
that you started?
it was 2000. I moved. Grad school was 2007, 2008.
Okay.
And my first thing was Kanye West "Love Lockdown."
Oh
Music
wait.
video.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I remember they said come with boxers on in your drawers, and I'm like, well, not like that, but they were like come prepared to be in your shirt.
You gotta be, you know what's going on in this
Yeah,
world.
not like that. They
You
said,
know
come
what's going
dressed.
on right now. You gotta clean that up.
We supposed to
They're about to be like,
Hold
he
on.
one of them.
We supposed to be tribal. We supposed to be tribal. So they said, come
They need to
dressed
see
like
your body.
African tribal. They need to see your chest and stuff. And it was in public place. So I'm like, okay, cool. But at that point, I remember I was like, I'm going to come and I'm going to dress like a Indian African guy.
Yeah.
And I had this ponytail. I don't know how the ponytail got on, but that ponytail came all the way down. And I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard. I had like this grass skirt.
Come
A
on.
blue chest.
Oh, he was connected.
We
to-
like, you
to
an
the
avatar.
character.
I had a stick.
Yes. You
I had a
was
stick. I had an arrow.
Committed.
I was like, I'm gonna get shot because somebody don't think I'm about to hurt somebody. Well, I'm gonna get this part. And I went in there and I auditioned, and they kept bringing everybody else out, and they left me in there and put the other guys around. I said, okay, I think I booked it. So I ended up booking it, and then when I got there on set, Kanye asked me, I did like 5 different roles.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, can you stay? And I ended up doing it, but that was my first Hollywood.
No
and they
formal
didn't-
training?
No.
You just...
No, I was a drum major at a HBCU. Shout out to Mississippi Valley State. But so he
Wait, what
needed
school?
Mississippi Valley State.
Oh,
we don't
okay.
give him that. Oh, let me stop.
So no theater.
No, I did theater in college. I did it in college for elective, and I did a couple of plays. But I still wanted to be a model because acting was hard. You had to access emotions. So as a
Yeah.
black man, I didn't know how to access
So
emotions.
Yeah.
he the actor that I root for.
let-
He's the one
yeah.
that I'm always like, yeah. We don't need all that. He
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
Like
But
that's
But
the
something
one
you
I'm
just
rooting
said is why your career is taking off in the way it is now. Because you are, and this is what we were talking about yesterday. Because you weren't ready to access your emotions.
No.
That's why you weren't booking the work that now
No.
you're finally start to
When
to
I
book
say I
that
cried,
work.
well, you seen it. I was
Yeah.
over here crying out. It's
Because
like,
you weren't ready for that yet.
yeah.
Remember yesterday we was talking
Yeah.
about that? This is, because you're breaking down all those walls, where are you about to go now? I'm so excited for your career. I'm so excited for your career. So I just had to say that because we were literally talking about just watching you and seeing, from the different shows. And what's the name of the show? We was just Fight Night.
Fight night.
He said, baby, T.O. Oh,
Yeah.
baby, they got T.O.
Listen, I seen that because I watched the first, 3 episodes?
3.
And
3. And
He watched the fourth one.
look,
without me.
We
Talking
saw.
about they were terrorists. I said, then why you tell me I ain't watched? He talking about,
T gone.
yeah.
He gone.
Talking about he coming tomorrow, so
He
I
coming
just thought
tomorrow,
I'd
so I'll go ahead and tell you.
Yeah.
Look, we got so excited when we saw you on the show. Like, man, I was like, man,
Yeah.
She texted me.
no Terrence.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been telling you for a minute. I think when I first met you, I was like, man, I'm rooting for you because you are what I really feel like we are missing as black men on camera. I felt like you had a realness about you. Remember I told you that?
You
had
the
the
waves.
face? Yeah, with
Yeah,
the
the
waves.
waves.
Yeah,
I was there.
because
He was not playing about the hair. He said, you're the
I
only black one, make sure they got your hair together. And that's when I ended up finding Coley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, so as a viewer, everybody want representation is what they say, right? So I'm watching him and we were watching TV and I'm like, he ain't believable. They can never get it right. So
Or they do too much.
Or they do too much, right? And if they do get it right, he gone. You see the dude? That was Brooke. That was real, And I think you had one of your commercials, and I was like,
Oh, yeah.
they got him.
With the waves.
With the waves, he out there, and it to me, and I know it's somebody like me who who see it and see how they portray us.
The Progressive.
Yeah, that's what it was.
For those of y'all, remember he
Progressive
was, he was half bike, half motor, half man.
And I was just happy. So I've been rooting for you. So when we saw you on fight night, I was like, got Terrence on here, babe.
Yes.
And then the next episode, hey man, he gone.
He was like, I said, well, why you have to tell me?
Gone, man.
You gonna see
The
it.
boy gone, he did. They in the front yard.
So, right.
Got the front yard.
So
Boy,
Kanye video was your first, job. Because I think it's important for people to know that. What year was that?
Oh my gosh, 2008, 2009.
And then from 2008 till when did you book your first show?
The year that mother passed, it was 2000. The year before, because she passed in April. So November. So it was 2015.
Yeah, pay attention out there. Y'all need to
I
listen.
haven't did the math.
Before she passed? Or the year that
Before, a couple of months before she passed.
Okay,
And that was the first time I heard my mother, she called and she was like, I was, of course, in class and she called out of nowhere and she said, what are you doing? I was like, okay, Mom, I'll call you back. She said, I'm proud of you. I said, okay, cool, thank you. She said, stop, Terrence Terrell Davis. I am proud of you.
Oh.
And I broke down crying. So I had healing with her before she passed, a couple of months before. So we was on a whole nother journey. But that was
And what show was that?
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds.
That was my first co-star.
Booked the co-star. And so for people who don't know what a co-star role is, that means you might get a sentence. Every now and then they might give you one extra scene. Usually it's like one scene. But if they give you a little extra scene, they might still give you co-star because they don't want to bump that pay up to guest star. But it's a big deal as an actor when you get, especially a primetime show. Trailer.
You're not in one of the little horse things.
Yeah, right. Or a shared room where you change with
2009
everybody
to
else.
2015, that's 6 years.
6 years.
What was you doing in that
Audience
time frame?
work, I was doing background. Ricky Lake just came back, right?
Dang, I forgot
Remember
about
Ricky
that.
Lake?
Yeah.
Ricky Lake just came back, but Ricky Lake used to pay $50 if you sat in the audience and clapped and, was there. And then they used to give away food. I told you I'd be hungry. And they used to give away little things, right? They give away sweaters or t-shirts and stuff. And I'll find out, take it to the thrift store and cash and get money. And this wasn't 1960.
Buffalo Exchange.
This ain't 1960. This is 2012, 13.
Yeah.
And I'm in there to a point one of the producers pulled me to the side. She was like, yo, you can't come back here no more. You too big. There's only so many parts we can put you in the audience.
They can see you.
But you get $50 cash for each show. And I was like, I was washing clothes with that money during the week. I was eating gas. So that was helping me survive for other things. So I was mad, but I was doing stand-in work. I was at Central Casting early, 5 o'clock in the morning, that line. I was doing student films. I didn't look down on student films because I'm like, these are the future. So and they're literally, they got to get a grade for this. So their lighting and everything else is usually on point.
And we use that for our reels.
And then I was doing, all kinds. I had a job. I was working. Unemployment. I was doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The walking dogs.
That's the
Hustler. But now I get that from my mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got there before me. You got there before me.
Yeah.
That's the grind. That portion of it, I think, is important.
Yeah.
That the viewers, young viewers who have ambitions to come this way, they need to hear that.
Yeah.
All the successful stuff is great, but you need to hear that, and I think it's necessary for continued success.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You got to pretend like you have. I always say, yes, I'm blessed, but always have that mentality as if this could be taken tomorrow. So stay blessed in it, stay grateful. Also give back now. Don't wait to give it back. And so, it could be, it's gangster. You got to be in it. But I learned it from my mom. And even the smile and the grace and still just working through things, all that from my mom.
Yeah. So, because I think it's important. Criminal Minds was, we say 2015, 2016.
2015.
Yeah. Then your next big job was when?
Oh my gosh. I forgot. Criminal Minds. What was the next thing?
Well, what was the series that you was just on?
Fight Night?
No.
Obliterated.
Is it Obliterated? Is that the name?
I be forgetting.
Yeah.
That's when you know you work.
No, I'm like Obliterated. So when people say congratulations,
You
I be
better
like,
be careful because somebody gonna be like, "Hey, Terry, let me hold something."
no, come over here. We just getting off strike. Leave me alone. You better back up.
Yeah.
Tax tab.
Okay,
Tax tab
listen.
boy.
Look, I ain't got it. No. But no, because wait, what
was after
the show with the I think you had a time. You went through some time because then we met on the short film.
Yeah, we met because that was a short film,
Yeah.
and then I did another short film. Then I did.
But what was the show where you had that y'all in the hospital?
Be Positive.
Be Positive.
Now that was the big thing. Be Positive was my first series regular. That happened during COVID.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. We're talking a 5-year gap before you got a series regular.
Yes.
So
on accident, because they were trying to make me recurring, and then I ended up getting pinned for 3 things. And my agent, she with it. She called and she was like, y'all better figure this out because he about to be gone.
Yeah.
They came back and Chuck Lorre said, we're going to make him series regular during COVID.
Amazing.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And so I'm there and like that's a different level. Like, and then now I felt a responsibility because I was the only black series regular on this show. So I'm coming 30, 40 minutes early every day to get myself together before I can get myself to the show, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You just said something that we can't skip over.
No. We can't skip.
There's this thing that that the unfortunate truth, as when you are black and the only black, we have to do more than everyone else. He said he was 30 to 40 minutes early.
Mostly an hour.
Trying to make sure, because in your mind you're thinking, I don't want to lose my job.
And I don't want to make the other one look bad.
Yeah, I want to exactly. And we got to make sure we look good for black folk. So they know that we show up, we prepared. It's something that is unfortunately true, but we shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
We should be able to show up prepared, yes, but on time, yes. But we shouldn't have to go over and beyond to feel accepted, to think about, I got to make sure that they see me and others, but we do. Right? Every time we take up space, we're taking up space for the next, Tabitha Brown, the next Terrence Terrell, the next Chance Brown. So like we carry a different weight on us that I don't think a lot of people realize, right? If you're not in our shoes. But I just couldn't let us.
Chance ain't doing it.
Right. I couldn't let us skip over that.
Chance ain't doing it.
Right.
Don't
But
hire me if that's
exactly. But you do
You
show
gotta
up
learn,
and do well.
you learn that.
Yeah, you have to unlearn conformity.
Yes.
Right? I had to unlearn code switching, unlearn cover my accent, unlearn trying to make everybody else in the room comfortable and while I'm uncomfortable. We don't have to do that. But we do. People do it. But I'm telling you now, you don't have to as long as you are showing up the right way anyway.
But isn't it crazy? You go through these levels just to get back. You put all these code switches just to get back to what you were as a child.
Yep.
Be back to yourself.
To
And
get
that's
to
when
freedom.
everything opens back up.
Yep.
Because, like you're breaking down these walls of shame. You're breaking down these walls about, just childhood trauma. And it's just you getting back to yourself.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's 100%. So before we go, let's talk about Fight Night because it's out right now. Tell the people.
Fight Night is Peacock.
Yeah, available on Peacock.
It's on Peacock. We got Taraji, P. Henson. You have Terrence Howard, Terrence Terrell. I had to learn how to do that too because I was like, working with legends.
Hey, boy, you be getting right when I was getting ready to say it. Like, wait a minute, man.
Yeah, because I put working with legends, and then Mama Carol said a legend working with legends.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? I was like, okay. So you got Terrence Howard, Terrence Terrell, Don Cheadle, Samuel L.
Hart.
Jackson, Kevin Hart, and then Taraji.
Yeah.
And so all these amazing people and going on that set.
Chloe
Bailey,
Oh,
who
yeah.
plays my girlfriend, who we didn't even understand she was my girlfriend until I got knocked off in the, and she runs out and said, "No, we read the script. I was like, are we together?
I was like, you never saw nothing.
We never saw. I was like, oh, we together.
Y'all
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, we was.
Yeah.
And then we died
no
together
more.
too, because she died right after.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all, you didn't see. I'm sorry.
I ain't got to the 4th episode.
Well, you told the man talking about the Fight Night.
Right. Well, yeah, it was a great experience. It was a great experience, and being in that moment, even during that, nobody would know I went through one of the most horrible breakups of my life during that, and nobody else can see it, but I can see it in my eyes. But I learned it from my mom. You push through, you smile and wave, you keep pushing through, and just being on the set with all those amazing actors and coming and bringing what I had, and also knowing that I can stand next to these people and hold my own.
Yeah.
That was a different level of gangster. Even though I was going through whatever, I was still present, understood my power.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then, so when you go through The crazy thing about finding self-worth and finding your power, when that's challenged and you talking about how much love you gotta give out, you then have to now watch interviews of yourself talking about how to love yourself again to make sure you remind yourself about self-love. And that's what I was doing these last 6 months. So it's been a very interesting time.
And look
But
at
Fight
you.
Night, it's a good thing. And I called you and you was,
I know.
She was on a plane, couldn't get to me, but she was sending me voice notes.
Yes.
I love
Look
you.
at the little
I love
black
you too.
kid who was lying, who was whose shame of his skin. Samuel L. Jackson. We can't just get over that now. We got to talk about that now. You up there?
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson
Look
got
at
a little
you
dark
now.
on him too.
Yeah.
He got a little. You got Kevin Hart. Man, you got Terrence Howard now. He light skinned. He out there, but he one of us.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
you up there.
Amazing Grace.
Yeah, you are up there with them heavy hitters.
That's right.
Like you, man, boy, that's something to be said.
Look at him. Look at you.
Your dad was proud about your graduation and he didn't get to see it. And your mom told you how proud she was of you, but I can only imagine, what they would have thought seeing you in this new light, man.
And I know, when our parents transcend, and I know it personally, that we get an angel on the other side that's personal, real personal for us. And while they were here, they couldn't help you. But on the other side, they work on your behalf.
Man,
And you're proof of that. Your success is proof of that.
I know that to be true.
So what they couldn't do for you here, they absolutely are helping, and with God's guidance, that energy is helping push you now. So I'm very proud of you as well. We're proud of you. Absolutely. Oh, Terrence, don't be crying. He done got all his tissue gone, Lord.
Now,
there
Terrence.
goes the towel right there.
Now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I'm about to go to LA casting.
Oh, Lord.
Come on. Come on. I'll set up a meeting.
Chance that had the LA cast.
I'm gonna be on LA casting.
Breakdown
be on
services,
your head.
everything for years.
I'm coming in for every audition.
You should. We need you.
Chanzel.
Chanzel.
Yeah.
That's actually very catchy.
You saw him in the Don's recipe commercial we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my. That's gonna.
It was good.
That was my acting debut.
It
Unless
was
you
good.
see the next one.
Okay, we
gonna
got
have
room
love,
for
we'll
it.
have a love scene and everything.
Oh.
It's gonna be good.
For a
Well,
commercial?
thank y'all for coming
Yeah.
out. God bless. Good night. Oh, time to go. All right. Thank y'all.
What, commercial? What y'all selling? Okay,
Bro, you eat that little whipped vanilla cream.
Jesus.
This episode has been sponsored by. Oh my God, this is so good. Well, this has been great. Any last words you want to leave to specifically young men who, but anybody who may be battling with, self-acceptance, loving themselves, colorism, anything that we've talked about today, grieving, grace, that you think could help them in their journey to freedom and to success?
In therapy, I learned that vulnerability is a strength. Like you said, pain doesn't come without purpose, but also leaning into that grace, giving yourself grace, first of all. Out, instead of just giving out, you have to give yourself grace. Take responsibility for your life in that moment. Because a lot of us can sit here and be like, my mama did this, daddy did this. But take responsibility for your life in that moment. And know if nobody else got you, you got you. But at the same time, there's tools out there to be helpful to you. Like you said, if it's giving out on Twitter, Instagram, and get it out how you need to get it out, but keep it PG so people can learn from it. Also, writing in a journal, I find that I write. I have to write it out. Some nights I'll wake up 3 o'clock in the morning crying. I can just turn on my cell phone and I voice record. So just get it out. Don't let it stay in because our bodies aren't made to hold stress. Let it out, and vulnerability is a power.
That's
And I
right.
want to also thank y'all for always just being, here we go, crying again. Thank y'all for always just being amazing. Y'all showed up for my first photo shoot and I had no money. And y'all wore those t-shirts and hats.
Yep, had
You
us a good
always
old
been there.
time.
Every time something comes on, you the first one that texts me and say, T, get it?
Yes.
So I love y'all. Thank y'all.
We love you too. Congratulations. Keep on doing it. Anything else, babe?
Nah, that's
No? Well, all right. We hope you enjoyed and you are inspired today. Make sure, tell them where they can follow you and find all your.
You can find me at I am Terrence T. You can find the books at icrownme.com.
But the link is in your bio.
The link is in my bio, all that great stuff. And yeah, everything you hit Terrence Terrell, I done made that name mean something. So
I
you
know
can
that's
find
right.
me.
It do mean something.
means something
okay?
now.
And all right, until the next time, honey, y'all going about y'all business. Have the most amazing day. But even if you can't have a good one, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's. God bless y'all. See you next time. Thank you for watching this episode, honey. And if you liked it, go ahead and click right here for more of those episodes.
And if you haven't already subscribed, please remember to do so.
Very good.